The pain was unlike anything Naomi had ever felt. Not just the physical agony of her scalp screaming as Harrison's fist twisted deeper into her natural curls, dragging her across the cold marble floor of their penthouse. Not just the humiliation of being treated like garbage in her own home. It was the sound of Vanessa's laughter that cut deepest. "Come on, Harrison." The blonde woman purred from the leather sofa, swirling her wine glass. "Just throw her out already. She's embarrassing herself." Naomi's knee scraped against the floor, her designer dress tearing. She'd come home early from visiting her mother, hoping to surprise her husband with dinner. Instead, she'd found him with his tongue down his assistant's throat in their bedroom. The bedroom where they promised forever to each other 7 years ago. "You should have stayed quiet," Harrison hissed, his breath reeking of expensive scotch. "You should just look the other way like a good wife. Let go of me." Naomi screamed, clawing at his hand. Her wedding ring caught the light, mocking her. "You don't make demands anymore," he snarled, dragging her toward the front door. "You're nothing without me. Nothing. I made you. I can destroy you." Vanessa laughed again, that cruel tinkling sound. She really thought she was special. "Honey, you were just convenient. Harrison never actually loved you." Those words should have broken her. Maybe they would have 3 years ago. But Naomi had learned something important in the past 6 months. Something these two fools didn't know. She'd learned to be smart. She'd learned to protect herself. Live streaming. Naomi screamed at the top of her lungs. Harrison froze, his grip loosened slightly. "What?" he said, his voice suddenly uncertain. Naomi twisted to look up at him. And despite the tears streaming down her beautiful brown face, despite the pain radiating through her body, she smiled. "I said, live streaming, my phone in my purse. Been recording everything for the last 15 minutes. Audio and video uploaded to cloud storage. Streaming live to 3 different platforms." The color drained from Harrison's face. "You're lying." "Am I?" Naomi's voice was steadier now. "Check my purse. The one you knocked over when you grabbed me. See that little red light?" Vanessa jumped up from the sofa and rushed to the designer handbag lying on its side near the entrance. She grabbed it and her face went white. "Harrison, she's not lying." "Oh my God, is there already 15,000 people watching? Turn it off." Harrison released Naomi so suddenly that she fell hard onto marble. "Turn it off right now." "I can't." Vanessa's voice was panicking now, her fingers fumbling with the phone. "It needs her face recognition to unlock." "Harrison, the comments are going crazy." Someone said they called the police. Multiple people. Harrison looked down at Naomi, and for the first time in 7 years, she saw fear in his eyes. Real, genuine fear. He'd always been the one in control. He'd always been the one with the power, the money, the influence. He'd made her feel small, worthless, dependent. "Not anymore. You can't do this," he said, his voice shaking. "Do you know what this will do to my company? To our life? Our life?" Naomi laughed, a broken, bitter sound. "There is no R anymore, Harrison. There hasn't been for a long time. I just didn't want to see it." She pushed herself up slowly, her whole body aching. Her reflection caught in the floor, the ceiling windows that overlooked the city. Her hair was wild, her dress torn, her lip bleeding. But her eyes were finally clear. "You think I'm stupid," she said quietly. "You both do. The poor little black girl from the South Side who got lucky when the rich white billionaire chose her. Who should be grateful you didn't leave her years ago." "Naomi, don't." Harrison started. "I have a business degree from Northwestern." She cut him off. "I graduated top of my class. I had 3 job offers before I met you. Good jobs. But you convinced me I didn't need to work. That being your wife was enough. That you take care of everything. I did take care of you." Harrison shouted. "You isolated me." Naomi shouted back. "And it felt good. So good to finally say it out loud. You drove away my friends. Made me feel guilty for visiting my family. Talked me out of every job opportunity. And why? So I'd have nowhere to go. No one to turn to. So I'd be trapped. That's not." And her. Naomi pointed at Vanessa, who looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. You brought your mistress into our home, into our bed. You threw your affair in my face and expected me to smile through it. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. The police are coming, Vanessa whispered. Harrison, what do we do? We. Harrison turned on her viciously. There is no we. You were just a good time. You didn't think I'd actually leave my wife for you, did you? Vanessa's face crumpled. But you said I say a lot of things. Harrison snapped. Then he turned back to Naomi, his expression shifting to something that might have looked like remorse if she didn't know him better. Baby, please turn off the phone. We can fix this. I'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever you want. No, Naomi said simply. No, she repeated. I don't want to fix this. I want a divorce. The sirens were right outside now. The penthouse buzzer rang. Harrison's face twisted with rage again. You'll get nothing. The prenup. The prenup is void in cases of domestic violence and infidelity, Naomi said calmly. My lawyer explained it to me. The same lawyer you don't know about, because I was smart enough to hide it from you. You're a lawyer. Harrison's voice was disbelieving. When 6 months ago, Naomi said, when I first suspected you were cheating, when I started noticing the late nights, the lies, the way you looked at her. She glanced at Vanessa with disgust. I've been documenting everything. Bank statements, hotel receipts, text messages you thought you deleted. I even have the passwords to your personal email. Harrison, I know about all of them. Every woman you paid off. Every lie you told. The buzzer rang again, more insistent. This is the police. Open up. Harrison looked at her like he'd never seen her before. Who are you? Naomi smiled. A real smile this time. I'm the woman who just took back her life. She walked to the door, her head held high despite the pain, and opened it. Four police officers stood there, their faces grim. Mrs. Sterling? One of them asked. We received multiple emergency calls about a domestic disturbance. Yes, Naomi said clearly. I'd like to press charges against my husband for assault. Behind her, she heard Harrison's world begin to crumble, and it felt like freedom. The lecture hall was packed, but Naomi had managed to snag a seat in the third row. She'd been looking forward to this guest speaker for weeks. Harrison Sterling, the tech mogul who'd built his empire from a dorm room at Harvard. At 31, he was already worth $3 billion and was known for his sharp business mind. She hadn't expected him to be so handsome in person. Most people think success is about having a good idea, Harrison said, pacing across the stage with easy confidence. But ideas are cheap. Execution is everything. And execution requires something most people don't have, the willingness to be ruthless. Naomi scribbled notes furiously. She was in her final year of her MBA, hungry to make her mark on the business world. Her mother had worked 3 jobs to put her through undergrad. This degree was everything. You, Harrison pointed suddenly at someone in the audience. At her, she realized with a jolt. What's your name? Naomi Brooks, she answered, her voice steady despite the hundreds of eyes turning toward her. Naomi Brooks, he repeated, his blue eyes fixed on her. If you had to choose between a business partner who was loyal but incompetent or competent but disloyal, which would you choose? It was a trick question. Naomi knew that. Neither, she said. I'd find someone who was both loyal and competent. And if that person didn't exist in my network, I'd expand my network. Harrison smiled. And if you didn't have time, if you needed to make a decision today, then I choose competent, Naomi said. Because loyalty without results still gets you nowhere, at least with competence. You know what you're dealing with. You can build systems to protect yourself from disloyalty. You can't fix incompetence. The lecture hall was silent. Then Harrison started clapping. That, he said, is the right answer. Most people choose loyalty because it feels good, but feelings don't build companies. Results do. After the lecture, he found her in the hallway. That was impressive, he said. Most students parrot back what they think I want to hear. You actually thought about it. Thank you, Naomi said, trying not to be too aware how tall he was, how his expensive suit fit him perfectly, how his attention made her feel seen in a way she wasn't used to. Have dinner with me, he said. I want to hear more about how you think. She should have said no. She had a paper due, an exam to study for. 100 reasons to walk away, but she'd heard yes before she could stop herself. That dinner turned into another and another. Within 2 months, they were inseparable. Harrison was fascinating, brilliant, generous. He took her to restaurants she couldn't afford, introduced her people she'd only read about in Forbes, made her feel like she was special. "You're different from other women," he told her one night, holding her hand across a candle-lit table. "You're real. You understand ambition. You don't just want me for my money. I have my own ambitions." Naomi said, "I want to build something meaningful. Maybe start a consulting firm that helps small businesses scale up." "That's amazing," Harrison said. "I love that you have dreams. Never lose that, Naomi. Promise me." She promised. When she brought him home to meet her mother, Patricia Brooks had been less enthusiastic. "He's too smooth," her mother said after Harrison left, after he charmed everyone with stories and jokes and generous offers to help with anything they needed. "Men like that always want something." "Mama, he's successful." Naomi defended him. "You always told me to date men with ambition." "I said ambition, not control," Patricia said carefully. "Watch how he talks to waiters, baby. Watch how he acts when he doesn't get his way. Those are the real tests." But Naomi was already in love. She saw what she wanted to see. 6 months after they met, Harrison proposed a ring that cost more than her mother's house. The wedding was in the society pages. 300 guests at a venue overlooking Lake Michigan. Naomi wore a dress by Vera Wang. Her sorority sisters were bridesmaids. Her mother cried, though Naomi wasn't sure if they were happy tears. The first year was good, great even. Harrison bought them the penthouse. He encouraged her to take time before starting her career, to just enjoy being young and in love. She agreed, thinking she had plenty of time. "You don't need to work right away," he said when she mentioned applying to consulting firms. "Why stress yourself out? Enjoy your life. We have everything we need." It made sense at the time. The second year, cracks started showing. Small things Harrison didn't like, when she made plans without telling him first. He thought her college friends were beneath her now and suggested she make new friends among the wives of his business associates. He preferred she wore her hair straight instead of natural. "It's more professional," he said. "You want to fit in at events, don't you?" She straightened her hair. Year 3, he hired Vanessa Reed as his executive assistant. She was blonde, perky, fresh out of college. Naomi tried to ignore the way Harrison's eyes lingered on her, tried to ignore the late nights at the office, the business trips Vanessa attended. "You're being paranoid," Harrison said when she asked if something was going on. "Vanessa is my employee, that's all. Don't embarrass me with jealous wife nonsense." She apologized. Years 4, 5, and 6 blurred together. Naomi's friends stopped calling after she canceled plans too many times. Her mother visited less after Harrison made passive-aggressive comments about low-class behavior. Job opportunities came and went, but Harrison always had a reason why now wasn't the right time. Next year, he'd promise. "Let's just get through this business deal, this merger, this whatever, then you can do whatever you want." Next year never came. By year 7, Naomi barely recognized herself. The ambitious graduate student had become a ghost to her own life. She spent her days at the gym, at charity lunches with women she didn't like, at home alone in their massive penthouse, waiting for a husband who was never there. She lost herself so completely that she almost didn't notice when things got worse. When Harrison's suggestions became demands, when his criticism became constant, when he started getting angry over nothing, slamming doors, punching walls, screaming at her for imagined failures. "You're lucky I put up with you," he'd say after these episodes. Any other man would have left by now. She believed him. That was the saddest part. She actually believed him until 6 months ago when she found the hotel receipt in his jacket pocket. Room service for 2 champagne strawberries. On their anniversary night, when he'd said he was working late, that's when something in Naomi woke up. That's when she stopped being the woman Harrison had molded and remembered who she used to be. She started making calls to old friends. Found Jerome Washington, her childhood friend from the South Side, who became one of Chicago's best divorce attorneys. Started documenting everything slowly and carefully. She'd learned from Harrison. After all, he taught her to be ruthless. Now, sitting in the back of the police car with a blanket around her shoulders, watching paramedics check her injuries, Naomi thought about that eager graduate student who'd said yes to dinner 7 years ago. She wished she could tell that girl to run. But maybe this was better. Maybe that girl needed to become this woman, needed to learn these lessons the hard way, so she could finally be free. Mrs. Sterling, a female officer, approached her. "We're ready to take your statement." "Call me Naomi," she said. "Just Naomi. I won't be Mrs. Sterling much longer." The officer smiled slightly. "Okay, Naomi, let's get your story on record." And for the first time in 7 years, Naomi told her truth. All of it, without fear, without shame. The past was done. Now came the part where she took back her future. The hospital room was too bright, too white, too sterile. Naomi sat on the examination table while a doctor documented every bruise, every scrape, every mark Harrison had left on her body. Each photograph felt like evidence against all the time she'd made excuses for him. "You have bruising consistent with being dragged by your hair," the doctor said gently. She was an older black woman with kind eyes, abrasions on your knees and palms where you try to catch yourself, a split lip, and these older bruises on your upper arms. "How long has this been going on?" "The physical stuff? 6 months maybe," Naomi said quietly. "Before that, it was just words, control, isolation. I didn't realize it was abuse until it got physical." "Abuse is abuse," the doctor said firmly. "Physical or emotional. You did the right thing getting out." The door burst open and Patricia Brooks stormed in, her face a mixture of fury and fear. "Baby girl." She pulled Naomi into her arms, careful of her injuries. "I saw it. Everyone saw it. That man put his hands on you." "Mama, don't mama me," Patricia said, pulling back to look at Naomi's face. Fresh tears streamed down both their faces. "I told you there was something wrong with him. I told you, but you were so in love, so sure you knew better." "I know," Naomi whispered. "You were right." "I don't want to be right," Patricia said fiercely. "I want you safe. I want you happy. I want to go back to that penthouse and show that man what real pain looks like." "Mrs. Brooks, I have to advise against making threats," the doctor said with the tiniest smile. "I'm not threatening," Patricia said. "I'm just saying what I want to do. What I actually do is up to my better judgment, which I have. Unlike some billionaire pieces of mama," Naomi interrupted, actually laughing a little through her tears. "I'm okay. Really, I knew what I was doing with that live stream. I've been planning for this." Patricia looked at her daughter with surprise and something that might have been pride planning for 6 months. Naomi said, "I have a lawyer. I have documentation. I have evidence of everything he's done." The live stream was just insurance, making sure he couldn't twist the story. "Who's your lawyer?" "Jerome Washington." Patricia's eyebrows shot up. "Little Jerome from around the corner, who used to have a crush on you in high school." "He's not so little anymore," Naomi said. "And he's one of the best divorce attorneys in Chicago now. He's been helping me prepare. For 6 months you've been planning this, and didn't tell me." Patricia looked hurt. "I couldn't risk Harrison finding out," Naomi explained. "He monitored everything. My phone, my emails, my movements. I had to be careful. Jerome helped me set up secret accounts, hidden email addresses, ways to document things without Harrison knowing." The doctor finished her examination. "I'm prescribing pain medication and something to help you sleep. You've been through a trauma. Your body needs rest." After the doctor left, Patricia sat beside Naomi on the examination table. "Where are you staying tonight? Because you're not going back to that penthouse." "I'm not stupid, Mama," Naomi said. "I booked a hotel suite under a fake name. Security on the floor. Jerome arranged it. Come home with me instead," Patricia urged. "Your old room is still there." "I need to do this on my own," Naomi said gently. "I need to prove to myself that I can stand on my own feet, that I don't need to run from a man to my mother. I can just be independent." Patricia looked like she wanted to argue, but nodded slowly. "Okay, but you call me every morning and every night. And if you need anything, I'll call," Naomi promised. "I swear." Her phone buzzed, then bust again and again. She pulled out and saw dozens of notifications, messages, calls, emails, most from numbers she didn't recognize. Your live stream is everywhere, Patricia said, looking at her own phone. It's the top trend on social media. People are calling you brave, calling for Harrison to be arrested. His company's stock dropped 15% in the last 2 hours. Good, Naomi said coldly. He deserves worse. Jerome Washington appeared in the doorway. He was tall with dark skin and a carefully maintained beard, dressed in an expensive suit that showed how far he'd come from the South Side. But his eyes held the same kindness they'd had when they were kids playing basketball in the park. Naomi, he said, his voice full of relief. Thank God you're okay, Jerome. She stood up, wincing at the pain. You came. Of course I came, he said. As soon as I saw the live stream, I headed here. I've already filed an emergency restraining order against Harrison and started divorce proceedings. The prenup is void due to the domestic violence, just like we discussed. How void? Patricia asked sharply. Jerome smiled. Completely void, which means Naomi is entitled to half of all marital assets. We're talking approximately $2.3 billion plus properties plus. I don't care about the money, Naomi interrupted. I just want out. You should care about the money, Jerome said. Seriously, because money is power, and right now you need power. Harrison is going to fight dirty. His lawyers are probably already working on a strategy to discredit you. The money isn't revenge, Naomi. It's protection. It's freedom. It's never having to depend on anyone again. He was right. She knew he was right. Okay, she said. Then let's take everything. Jerome's smile was sharp. Now you're thinking like a winner. I got a lot to brief you on. Harrison's been calling my office nonstop. So has Vanessa Reed, surprisingly. Vanessa? Naomi's stomach turned. What does she want? She wants to talk to you. Jerome said claims she has information that could help your case, that she wants to apologize. No, Naomi said immediately. I don't want to hear from her ever. Block her number. Tell your office to refuse her calls. I want nothing to do with that woman. Already done. Jerome assured her. I figured that's what you'd say. But legally, I had informed you that she reached out. Is Harrison in jail? Patricia asked. Not yet, Jerome said. They're processing him now. He'll probably post bail within a few hours. But with the restraining order, he can't come within 500 feet of Naomi. Can't contact her directly or through intermediaries. If he violates it, he goes straight to jail. What about the assault charges? Naomi asked. That's up to the district attorney. But with the video evidence, they'll definitely prosecute. Jerome explained. This is high profile now. The DA won't want to look soft on domestic violence, especially against a wealthy white man abusing his black wife. The optics are terrible for Harrison. Good, Patricia said firmly. I want him to suffer. He will, Jerome promised. Naomi, you did everything right. The live stream was genius. Most victims don't think to document abuse in real time. It makes the case ironclad. I learned from the best, Naomi said, looking at Jerome. You told me 6 months ago to be smart, not emotional. To think like a lawyer, not a victim. You listened, Jerome said with pride. Most people don't. They let their emotions guide them and end up with nothing. You played this perfectly. I don't feel like I won, Naomi admitted. I feel like I lost 7 years of my life to a man who never loved me. Then make the next 7 years count for double, Jerome said. Make him regret ever underestimating you. Naomi's phone buzzed again. A number she recognized. Harrison's cell phone. He's calling, she said. Don't answer. Jerome advised. It's probably being recorded by the police anyway. Let him dig his own grave. She declined the call. Immediately, a text came through. Naomi, please. We can fix this. I love you. I didn't mean to hurt you. Delete the video. I'll do anything. Another text. You're destroying my life. Think about what you're doing. Another. If you don't stop this, I'll make sure you never work in the city again. I'll ruin you. There it is, Jerome said, reading over his shoulder, threatening you in text. Save all of these. They just made our case even stronger. He really doesn't learn, does he? Patricia said. Narcissists never do, Jerome said. They can't imagine a world where they don't win, where someone actually stands up to them. Harrison thought Naomi would crawl back like she probably did before. Naomi looked at the messages, feeling nothing but disgust. Had she ever loved this man, or had she just loved the idea of being chosen by someone powerful? I'm ready to go to the hotel, she said. I need a shower and sleep, and to not think about Harrison Sterling for at least 8 hours. I'll drive you, Patricia said. I'll follow, Jerome added. Make sure you get there safely. As they left the hospital through a back entrance to avoid the media camped out front, Naomi caught a reflection in a window. She looked terrible, hair a mess, face swollen, lips split, but her eyes looked alive for the first time in years. She'd lost a husband, but she'd found herself again, and that was worth everything. The hotel suite was nice. Too nice, really. But Jerome had insisted on booking the penthouse level with 24-hour security. Naomi stood by the floor, the ceiling windows looking out over Chicago. She'd lived in the city for over a decade, but she'd never really seen it. Not like this, not as herself. Her phone rang. Jerome. Good morning, she answered. Or is it? I can't tell anymore. It's 7 a.m., Jerome said. Sorry to call so early, but I've been up all night digging and you need to hear this. I'm listening. Harrison has a history, Jerome said carefully. Before you, there was a woman named Lauren Chin. They dated his senior year at Harvard. She filed a police report claiming he got violent during an argument, pushed her, grabbed her throat, threatened her. Naomi's stomach dropped. What happened with the charges? They disappeared. Jerome said the Sterling family paid her a settlement for $1 million plus an NDA. The police report was buried. It's not even in the regular database. I had to call in favors with investigators to find it. So he did this before, Naomi said slowly. He heard someone before me and his family just paid her to go away. That's not all, Jerome continued. 2 other women have come forward since your live stream went viral. Both claim Harrison harassed them. One was an intern at his company 5 years ago. Says he cornered her in his office, made inappropriate advances. When she refused, she was fired. Let me guess, Naomi said bitterly. Settlement and NDA. Exactly, Jerome confirmed. The other woman worked at a charity Harrison donated to. Similar story. Unwanted advances retaliation when she rejected him. His lawyers paid her off to avoid scandal. How many women? Naomi asked. How many people has he hurt that we know about? For including you, Jerome said. But there could be more who haven't come forward. Naomi, this man is a predator. He has a pattern of targeting women he perceives as beneath him professionally, then using his power to silence them when they speak up. Naomi thought about all the times Harrison had made her feel small. All the times he told her she was lucky he chose her. All the times he'd implied she was nothing without him. What about the prenup? She asked, changing the subject before she got too angry. You said his S void. I did more digging on that, too, Jerome said. Harrison's lawyers wrote it to be extremely one-sided. If you divorce him without cause, you get nothing, just a tiny monthly allowance. But there's a morality clause buried in page 47. If either party commits domestic violence or adultery, the prenup is void and standard marital property division applies. So half of everything, Naomi said. Half of everything, Jerome confirmed. And I've been going through the financial documents you've been collecting. Naomi Harrison is worth even more than the public thinks. He has offshore accounts, hidden investments, property under different names. We're talking closer to $5 billion, not 3, $5 billion. Naomi couldn't wrap her mind around that number, and you're entitled to half. $2.5 billion, Jerome said, plus the penthouse, which is worth $30 million alone, plus the vacation homes in Aspen, Miami, and the Hamptons. I don't want a vacation homes, Naomi said. I never even liked going to them. He just wanted to show off to his friends. We'll sell them then, Jerome said. Add that money to your settlement. But Naomi, there's something else I found. What? Harrison has been sabotaging you. Jerome said carefully. Remember how you applied to several consulting firms 3 years ago? They all turned you down. Yes, Naomi said. Harrison said it was because I didn't have enough experience that I should wait a few more years. He called every single one of those firms. Jerome said, his voice angry, told them you weren't serious about working, that you had personal issues, that hiring you would be a mistake. I found emails. Naomi, he deliberately tanked your career. The room spun. He made sure you couldn't get a job. Jerome said because if you were working, you'd have your own money, your own identity outside of being his wife. You'd be harder to control. Naomi sat down hard on the plush hotel sofa. I could have been working this whole time. I could have been building my career. Instead, I was just trapped in that penthouse playing housewife to a man who was cheating on me. He stole years from you, Jerome said, but we're going to make him pay for every single one. How? By taking everything, Jerome said, simply. His money, his reputation, his freedom. When we're done, Harrison Sterling will be a cautionary tale about what happens when powerful men think they're above consequences. When do we start? Naomi asked. We already started, Jerome said. I filed all the initial paperwork, the divorce petition, the restraining order, a civil suit for emotional distress and economic damages. Harrison's lawyers are going to be drowning in documents for months. Won't he fight back? Of course he will. Jerome said he'll try to discredit you, paint you as a gold digger who planned this whole thing. His lawyers are probably already building that narrative. But we have something they don't. What's that? The truth, Jerome said, and video evidence of their client dragging his wife by her hair. That's going to be pretty hard to spin. After they hung up, Naomi ordered room service and turned on the news. Sure enough, her face was everywhere. Billionaire's wife live streams her own assault. Tech mogul Harrison Sterling arrested for domestic violence. Viral video shows brutal attack on Naomi Brooks Sterling. Some commentators were sympathetic. Others questioned why she'd stayed so long, why she'd married him in the first place, what she'd done to provoke him. Those comments made her want to scream. Her phone rang again. A Chicago number she didn't recognize. Hello, Mrs. Sterling. My name is Detective Andrea Morrison. I'm with the Chicago Police Department. I'm the lead investigator on your case. Oh, Naomi said. Hello? I wanted to update you on the investigation. Detective Morrison said, Mr. Sterling posted bail last night, but he's wearing an ankle monitor and can't leave Cook County. We've served him with your restraining order. If he violates it, he'll be arrested immediately. Okay, Naomi said. Thank you. I also wanted to ask if you'd be willing to give a full statement. The detective continued. I know you spoke with officers last night, but I'd like to get a more detailed account. And if there were other incidents of abuse, we need to document those as well. There were other incidents, Naomi admitted. Pushed me into a wall once through things. Broke my phone when he found me texting a friend he didn't like. But I never reported any of it. I thought it would get better. It never gets better, Detective Morrison said gently. It only escalates. You did the right thing getting out when you did. Can you come to the station tomorrow? Bring your lawyer. I'll be there. Naomi promised. After the call, she finally checked her social media. The live stream had over 10 million views now. The comments were a mix of support and criticism. Some people were calling her brave. Others were calling her a liar, a gold digger, and opportunist. One comment caught her eye. This is what happens when people marry for money instead of love. She got what she deserved. Naomi deleted the app. She didn't need that poison in her head. Her phone dinged. A text from an unknown number. Naomi, it's Vanessa. Please give me a chance to explain. I didn't know he would hurt you. I feel terrible about everything. Can we meet? Naomi blocked the number immediately. Another text from a different number. It's still Vanessa. I know you're mad, but I have information that could help your case. Harrison has been hiding money. I know where. Please just hear me out. Blocked again. A third number. You can't ignore me forever. I'm trying to help you. Naomi called Jerome. Vanessa won't stop texting me from different numbers. Forward them all to me. Jerome said, I'll handle it. And Naomi, don't respond to her. Not even to tell her to stop. Any contact could be used against you in court. Harrison's lawyers might claim you two are working together or something crazy. Just ignore her completely. Gladly, Naomi said. That evening, Patricia came by with food. Real food, not the fancy restaurant stuff Harrison always ordered. Soul food from the place near their old neighborhood. Fried chicken, mac and cheese, collard greens, cornbread. This is what you need, Patricia said, setting up containers on the coffee table. Not those tiny portions from those expensive places where they charge you $100 for 3 bites. They ate together, watching a movie neither of them paid attention to. It felt normal, like old times before Harrison, before the penthouse, before everything got complicated. Mama, Naomi said during a commercial break. Was I stupid for marrying him? No, baby, Patricia said firmly. You were young and hopeful and in love. That's not stupid. That's human. He's the one who's stupid. He had a brilliant, beautiful woman who loved him, and he threw away for what? Some blonde girl who laughs at his jokes. I think there were others, Naomi said quietly. Besides Vanessa, Jerome found settlements in other women he hurt or harassed. Patricia's face went hard. Then we make sure everyone knows. We make sure every woman in this city knows what kind of man Harrison Sterling really is. So he can never do this to anyone else. That's what I want, too. Naomi said, I don't just want a divorce. I want justice. Real justice. You'll get it. Patricia promised, and I'll be right beside you the whole way. They fell asleep on the couch together, like they used to when Naomi was little and scared of thunderstorms. But this time, Naomi wasn't scared. She was ready to fight. The next 3 weeks were a blur of meetings, depositions, and evidence gathering. Jerome's office became Naomi's second home. They worked 12-hour days, sometimes going through 7 years of documentation. These credit card statements show Harrison spent over $500,000 on gifts for Vanessa, Jerome said, highlighting another entry. Jewelry, designer clothes, trips to Paris, New York, Dubai, all charged to business accounts, so you wouldn't see them. Naomi looked at the numbers, feeling numb. We fought about money sometimes. He said, I spent too much on clothes or getting my hair done. The whole time he was spending thousands on his mistress. He's a hypocrite, Jerome said. And these hotel receipts show he was with her at least twice a week for the past 3 years. Always high-end hotels. Always the same charge pattern. Room service, champagne, spa services for 2. How did I not know? Naomi asked. How was I so blind? You trusted him? Jerome said gently. That's not blindness. That's what you're supposed to do in a marriage. He's the one who betrayed that trust. They found more emails between Harrison and his lawyers about handling the previous women who'd accused him. Wire transfers to offshore accounts that never appeared on the tax returns Naomi signed. Business deals where Harrison used marital funds, but put the profits in his name only. He's been stealing from you for years, Jerome said, showing her the evidence. Everything he built during your marriage should be marital property, but he's been hiding it, sheltering it, making sure you couldn't claim any of it if he ever left. He planned this. Naomi realized he always knew he might need to get rid of me someday, so he made sure I'd have nothing. That's exactly what he did, Jerome confirmed. But he didn't count on you being smart enough to catch him or brave enough to fight back. Naomi spent her afternoons working with a therapist Jerome recommended. Dr. Lisa Wright was a specialist in trauma from domestic violence. You did nothing wrong, Dr. Wright told her during their first session. I need you to understand that the abuse was not your fault. The cheating was not your fault. Nothing you could have done or said would have made Harrison treat you differently. This is who he is. But I stayed. Naomi said, even when I knew something was wrong. Doesn't that make me weak? It makes you human. Dr. Wright said, on average, it takes a victim 7 attempts to leave an abusive relationship. You left on your first real attempt. That's not weak, Naomi. That's strong. I don't feel strong, Naomi admitted. I feel stupid and angry and sad all at the same time. That's okay. Dr. Wright said, you're allowed to feel all of those things. Healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel powerful. Other days you'll want to crawl in bed and never come out. Both are okay. The media attention was relentless. Naomi refused most interview requests, but the stories ran anyway. Some were sympathetic, others were cruel. The worst ones tried to dig into her past, looking for dirt that would make Harrison's abuse seem justified. They're saying you had a DUI in college. Jerome told her one day. Did you? No. Naomi said, I got pulled over once for a broken taillight, and the officer gave me a warning. That's it. Someone's making things up. Harrison's PR team, Jerome said grimly, they're planting fake stories to discredit you. It's a common tactic. Can we stop them? We can sue for defamation, Jerome said, but that takes time and keeps you in the headlines longer. Sometimes it's better to ignore the lies and let them fade away. Naomi hated feeling powerless, but she trusted Jerome's judgment. Meanwhile, Vanessa kept trying to make contact. She showed up at the hotel once, but security turned her away. She sent emails that Jerome's office blocked. She even tried to reach out through mutual acquaintances. She's desperate, Jerome observed. She thought she'd won. Thought Harrison would leave you for her, and she'd be the billionaire's wife. Instead, she's unemployed, publicly humiliated, and Harrison won't even talk to her. Good. Naomi said she had zero sympathy for Vanessa. The woman had slept with a married man, laughed as he abused his wife, and now wanted forgiveness. Not happening. Jerome worked tirelessly on the case, but Naomi noticed he was doing more than just legal work. He checked on her every day, made sure she ate, sent her articles he thought would make her laugh. Small kindnesses that reminded her not all men were like Harrison. Why are you being so nice to me? She asked him one evening after a particularly long day of depositions. Jerome looked up from his laptop, surprised by the question. Because you're my friend, Naomi. You always have been. We hadn't talked in years before I called you about the divorce, she pointed out. Doesn't matter, Jerome said. You were important to me growing up. You were the girl who talked to the nerdy kid everyone else ignored, who helped me with English homework and invited me to your birthday parties. You think I forgot that? That was a long time ago. Naomi said softly. Some things don't change. Jerome said, I cared about you then. I care about you now. And seeing what Harrison did to you, it makes me angry. Makes me want to destroy him legally, financially, every way I can. Why? Naomi asked. It's not your fight. Yes, it is, Jerome said firmly. When someone hurts someone I care about, it becomes my fight. That's how this works. There was something in his eyes that made Naomi look away. She wasn't ready to think about what that look might mean. She was still legally married, still processing 7 years of trauma. Romance was the last thing on her mind, but she was grateful for Jerome, grateful for his steadiness, his intelligence, his refusal to let Harrison win. Thank you, she said, for everything. I don't know what I would have done without you. You would have figured it out. Jerome said, You're stronger than you think. Naomi Brooks, you always have been. That night, alone in her hotel suite, Naomi looked through the evidence they gathered. Hundreds of documents proving Harrison's affairs, his financial crimes, his abuse. It should have made her feel vindicated. Instead, she just felt tired. 7 years of her life reduced to evidence in a divorce case. 7 years of trying to be the perfect wife, and for what? A man who never loved her, who saw her as property control, not a partner to cherish. But she'd get through this. She'd win her case, take her settlement, and build a new life, a better life, one where she never had to ask permission to be herself again. Vanessa Reed's life fell apart faster than she ever imagined possible. 3 days after the live stream, she was fired from Harrison's company. Not quietly either. The board issued a statement condemning her unprofessional relationship with the CEO and her participation in workplace harassment. Her severance package was minimal, nothing like the generous exit packages executives usually received. Then the internet turned on her. Someone leaked her text messages with friends. Messages where she'd mocked Naomi, called her Harrison's boring wife, brag about stealing him away. Screenshots spread across social media. People called her every name imaginable. Her Instagram was flooded with hate comments until she made it private. Then people found her Facebook, her LinkedIn, her old Twitter account. Homewrecker, they called her. Mistress, the other woman. Worse things that Naomi didn't bother reading. Vanessa tried to control the narrative. She posted a long statement on Instagram claiming she'd been manipulated by Harrison, that he told her his marriage was over, that she'd had no idea Naomi was being abused. Nobody believed her. The video of Vanessa laughing while Harrison dragged Naomi by her hair was everywhere. You couldn't claim to be an innocent victim when you were clearly enjoying someone else's pain. Vanessa deleted the post after 2 hours. The damage was done. She tried calling old friends, people she'd worked with in the business world. Most didn't answer. The ones who did made excuses about why they couldn't meet up, couldn't help her find a new job, couldn't be associated with her right now. You become toxic, one former friend told her bluntly. No company wants to hire someone involved in a scandal like this. You're unhireable. But it's not fair. Vanessa protested. Harrison is the one who was married. Why am I the only one suffering? Because you laughed, the friend said coldly. While a woman was being assaulted, you sat there and laughed. That's not something people forget. Vanessa tried reaching out to Naomi multiple times from different phone numbers, different email addresses. Jerome's office blocked every attempt. She even tried showing up at the hotel where she thought Naomi might be staying, but security refused to let her pass the lobby. I have information. Vanessa shouted at the security guard about Harrison, about money he's hiding. Naomi needs to know. Ma'am, if you don't leave, I'll call the police, the guard said firmly. Desperate, Vanessa went to media. She called gossip websites, entertainment shows, anyone who would listen. Most wanted nothing to do with her. A few agreed to interviews, but they were brutal. You were caught on camera laughing while your lover abused his wife. One interviewer said, "What do you have to say to people who think you're as guilty as he is?" "I'm not guilty of anything," Vanessa insisted. "I was scared. I laughed because I was nervous." You don't know what it was like in that room. The video shows you looking pretty comfortable, the interviewer countered. The interview aired and made things worse. People created memes from her defensive expressions, her stammering explanations. She became a joke. Her landlord gave her notice to vacate her expensive downtown apartment. The building management cited safety concerns with a number of protesters showing up outside. Vanessa couldn't afford the rent anyway, without her executive salary. She moved back in with her parents in the suburbs. Her mother looked at her with disappointment. Her father wouldn't speak to her at all. "We raise you better than this," her mother said. "To break up someone's marriage, to laugh at someone's pain. I don't even recognize you. Vanessa, you don't understand." Vanessa tried to explain. Harrison said he loved me, said he was going to leave her. "I thought we had a future together." "And you believed him?" Her mother said incredulously. "A married man tells you he's going to leave his wife, and you just believe it. How naive are you?" "He was convincing," Vanessa said weakly. "He was lying," her mother corrected. "And you were convenient. Don't you see that? You were young, available, easily impressed by his money and power. He was never going to leave Naomi for you. Men like Harrison never leave. But he might have." "No," her mother interrupted. "He wouldn't have. And now you've destroyed your career, your reputation, and our family's name. All for a man who hasn't called you once since his arrest. Have you noticed that? He hasn't reached out to see if you're okay to help you, to explain anything. You're alone in this." Vanessa had noticed. She called Harrison dozens of times. Every call went to voicemail. She'd sent texts, emails, letters. No response. She finally got through to his lawyer, who was icy and professional. "Mr. Sterling has no comment regarding you, Ms. Reed. He's focused on his legal defense and has instructed us to cease all contact with you. He's concerned that any association with you could hurt his case." "But I was his girlfriend," Vanessa protested. "You were his employee who he had an affair with." The lawyer corrected. "That's how this will be characterized in court. I'd advise you not to contact Mr. Sterling again." Vanessa hung up and cried for hours. She'd given up everything for Harrison, her professional reputation, her integrity, her self-respect. She convinced herself they had something special, something worth fighting for. Now she had nothing. She tried applying to jobs in other cities, other states, but her name was too well known now. A simple Google search brought up hundreds of articles about the scandal. No one wanted to hire her. She sold her designer clothes on consignment websites to make rent money. The bags Harrison had bought her, the shoes, the jewelry, things that had seemed so important now fell hollow. A month after the live stream, Vanessa got a job at a department store in a suburban mall, working retail. Minimum wage plus commission. She, who'd been making six figures as an executive assistant, was now folding sweaters and dealing with angry customers returning items without receipts. Her coworkers recognized her. They whispered about her, took photos when they thought she wasn't looking. Her manager called her into the office after 2 weeks. "I'm sorry, Vanessa," he said, looking uncomfortable, "but we're getting complaints. Customers saying they don't feel comfortable with you helping them. Corporate thinks it's best if we part ways. You're firing me?" Vanessa couldn't believe it, over something that has nothing to do with this job. "We're a family-friendly store," the manager said, "and you're associated with unsavory behavior. It's bad for business." Vanessa walked out of the mall in a daze. She'd hit rock bottom. No job, no money, no prospects. Living with parents who were ashamed of her. Shunned by everyone she'd once called a friend. She tried one last time to reach Naomi. She wrote a long email explaining everything. How Harrison had pursued her, how he'd lied about his marriage, how she genuinely believed they had a future together, how she was sorry. So sorry for laughing during the assault, how she'd been shocked and didn't know how to react. She explained that she had information about Harrison's hidden accounts, that she could help Naomi's case if Naomi would just talk to her. The email bounced back. Her address had been blocked. Vanessa sat in her childhood bedroom surrounded by participation trophies from high school and old yearbooks and realized this was her life now. This was a consequence of her choices. She'd wanted to be a billionaire's wife. She'd wanted the glamorous life, the expensive things, the power that came with being Harrison Sterling's woman. Instead, she was unemployed, broke, and infamous for all the wrong reasons. Naomi had won without even trying. She lost everything, too. But somehow, she'd come out looking like a survivor, a hero even, while Vanessa was a villain in everyone's story. It wasn't fair. Vanessa thought bitterly. But maybe fair didn't matter anymore. She'd made her choices. Now she had to live with them. Meanwhile, Naomi never thought about Vanessa at all. She'd cut that woman out of her life completely, like excising a tumor. Vanessa's attempts to apologize, to help, to be relevant, meant nothing. Some people Naomi had learned didn't deserve your energy, didn't deserve your forgiveness, didn't deserve anything but the natural consequences of their actions. Vanessa was getting exactly what she deserved. And Naomi had more important things to focus on, like destroying Harrison completely. The courtroom was packed. Media spectators, people who'd followed the case online and wanted to see the drama in person. Naomi sat beside Jerome at the plaintiff's table, wearing a simple navy dress and minimal makeup. She'd learned from Jerome that looking too expensive or glamorous would play into Harrison's narrative that she was a gold digger. Harrison sat across the room with his team of lawyers. He lost weight. Naomi noticed his expensive suit hung a little loose. His face was drawn, stressed. He tried to catch her eye multiple times. She refused to look at him. Judge Patricia Morrison, no relation to the detective, called the court to order. She was a black woman in her 60s, known for being fair but tough. Jerome had been pleased when the case was assigned to her. This is a divorce proceeding in the matter of Brooks versus Sterling. Judge Morrison said, "I've reviewed all the preliminary filings. This is going to be a complicated case, so let's start with the basics. Mr. Sterling's counsel, your position." Harrison's lead attorney stood. His name was Richard Abbott, and he was known for defending wealthy men in divorce proceedings. Naomi had read about him. He usually won by making the wives look bad. "Your Honor, this is a clear case of a woman who married for money and is now attempting to capitalize on a single unfortunate incident," Abbott said smoothly. "Mrs. Sterling Brooks has grossly exaggerated claims of abuse and is using a moment of regret to extract billions from my client." "A moment of regret?" Jerome stood, his voice sharp. "Your Honor, the defendant dragged my client by her hair across a marble floor while his mistress laughed. This was filmed, witnessed by thousands, and resulted in documented injuries. This was not a moment of regret. This was assault. We dispute the characterization of Ms. Reed as a mistress. Abbott said, there is no proof of an ongoing affair. Jerome pulled out a thick folder. I have 3 years of credit card statements, hotel receipts, text messages, and emails that say otherwise. I also have testimony from several of Mr. Sterling's employees who witnessed inappropriate behavior between him and Ms. Reed. May I see those? Judge Morrison asked. Jerome handed copies to the judge and to Abbott. The courtroom was silent as Judge Morrison flipped through page after page of evidence. Her expression remained neutral, but Naomi saw her eyebrows raise more than once. This is quite extensive, the judge said finally. Mr. Abbott, you'll need to do better than disputing the affair. The evidence is overwhelming. Abbott's jaw tightened. Your Honor, even if there was an affair, which we neither confirm nor deny, that doesn't negate the prenuptial agreement. Mrs. Sterling Brooks signed a binding contract. A contract that is void under its own terms. Jerome countered. The prenup specifically states it becomes null and void in cases of domestic violence or adultery. Mr. Sterling committed both. Therefore, standard marital property division applies. The morality clause is overly broad and should be invalidated, Abbott argued. It essentially punishes my client for being human. It protects victims of abuse. Jerome shot back. And your client isn't being punished for being human. He's facing consequences for being violent and unfaithful. There's a difference. Judge Morrison held up her hand. Gentlemen, I'll review the prenup thoroughly and make a ruling on its validity. For now, let's move on. Mrs. Brooks, would you like to make a statement? Naomi stood, her hands shaking slightly. She'd practiced this with Jerome a dozen times, but actually standing in front of Judge and speaking her truth was terrifying. Your Honor, I married Harrison Sterling 7 years ago, she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. I was young, ambitious, and in love, or I thought I was in love. What I didn't know was that I was marrying a man who would spend the next 7 years controlling every aspect of my life. She detailed it all. How Harrison had isolated her from friends and family. How he'd sabotaged her career. How he'd monitored her phone, her email, her movements. How he'd made her feel worthless and dependent. The physical abuse started 6 months ago. Naomi continued, a push here, a grab there. Things I told myself weren't that bad until the night. He dragged me by my hair in front of his mistress. That's when I realized I had to leave or I might not survive. Harrison's lawyer objected several times, claiming Naomi was being dramatic, exaggerating, performing for the cameras. Each time, Jerome produced evidence to back up her claims. Text messages where Harrison threatened her, emails where he told companies not to hire her, testimony from her doctor about her injuries. The first day of trial ended with Judge Morrison looking grim. This court will reconvene tomorrow, she said. I want both parties to seriously consider settlement. If this goes to full trial, it will be expensive, time-consuming, and ugly. Mrs. Brooks has presented compelling evidence of abuse and infidelity. Mr. Sterling, I'd advise you to think carefully about how you want to proceed. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed. Jerome had prepared Naomi for this. Mrs. Brooks, do you think you'll win? Mrs. Brooks, why didn't you leave sooner? Mrs. Brooks, is it true you're seeking $2 billion? My client has no comment at this time, Jerome said, guiding Naomi through the crowd to a waiting car. Once they were safely inside, Naomi let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. How did I do? You were perfect, Jerome said. Honest, composed, sympathetic. The judge believed you. I could see it on her face. Harrison looked angry. Naomi said, good, Jerome said. Angry people make mistakes. Let's hope his lawyers can't control him. They didn't have to hope for long. That evening, Harrison posted a long rant on social media, calling Naomi a liar, a schemer, a woman who trapped him into marriage and was now trying to steal everything he'd built. I made her, he wrote. She was nobody when I met her, a graduate student with nothing. I gave her everything, and this is how she repays me, by destroying my life over one mistake. The post went viral for all the wrong reasons. People tore him apart in the comments. One mistake. You dragged her by her hair. You gave her everything except respect. She was nobody. She had a degree from Northwestern. You entitled jerk. Harrison's lawyers must have panicked because the post was deleted within an hour, but screenshots live forever. Jerome submitted it as evidence of Harrison's continued harassment. The trial continued for 2 more weeks. Witness after witness testified. Harrison's former employees talked about his temper, his inappropriate behavior, his tendency to demean women. The women he'd paid off in the past told their stories, showing a pattern of abuse. Harrison's defense tried to paint Naomi as calculating as a woman who planned the whole thing. They brought up the live stream, suggesting she provoked Harrison to attack her so she could record it. Let me get this straight. Jerome said during cross-examination of one of Harrison's friends, "You think Mrs. Brooks wanted to be assaulted? That she somehow made Mr. Sterling drag her by her hair?" "I'm saying she knew how to push his buttons," the friend said weakly. "What buttons would those be?" Jerome asked. "The ones that make a man violent toward his wife, because those buttons shouldn't exist." The friend had no response. By the 3rd week, it was clear which way the trial was going. Judge Morrison ruled that the prenup was indeed void. She also granted Naomi's request for exclusive possession of the penthouse, as Harrison had made it an unsafe environment for her. Finally, on a cold November afternoon, the judge delivered her verdict. "In the matter of Brooks versus Sterling, I find overwhelming evidence of domestic abuse, infidelity, and financial manipulation by the defendant," Judge Morrison said. "The prenuptial agreement is void. Marital assets will be divided equally." Naomi felt Jerome squeeze her hand. Mrs. Brooks is awarded 50% of all marital assets, including cash, investments, properties, and business interests. The judge continued. Based on financial documents provided, this amounts to approximately $2.3 billion. Harrison shot to his feet. "Your Honor." "That's sit down, Mr. Sterling." Judge Morrison said coldly. "I'm not finished. Mrs. Brooks is also awarded the penthouse in Chicago, valued at $30 million. Mr. Sterling will pay all legal fees for both parties. A permanent restraining order is granted requiring Mr. Sterling to stay at least 1,000 feet away from Mrs. Brooks at all times." "Your Honor, this is highway robbery." Abbott protested. "No, Counselor, this is justice," Judge Morrison said. "Mr. Sterling committed acts of violence and betrayal against his wife. He attempted to financially ruin her and control her life. The prenup's morality clause exists exactly for this reason. My ruling stands." She banged her gavel. "This court is adjourned." The courtroom erupted. Reporters rushed for the doors to file their stories. Harrison's lawyers surrounded him, trying to calm him down. Naomi sat still, processing what had just happened. She'd won. She'd actually won. "We did it," Jerome said, grinning. "Naomi, we did it. How long until I actually get the money?" she asked. "His lawyers will try to appeal, but it won't work." Jerome said the evidence is too strong. "I'd say within 6 months you'll have full access to your settlement." 6 months. After 7 years of having nothing, 6 more months seemed manageable. They left through a back entrance to avoid the media. In the car, Naomi finally let herself feel the weight of what had just happened. She'd stood up to one of the most powerful men in Chicago. She'd exposed his abuse, his infidelity, his crimes, and she'd won. "Thank you," she said to Jerome. "I couldn't have done this without you." "Yes, you could have," Jerome said. "You're stronger than you know, Naomi Brooks. You always have been." As they drove through the city, Naomi looked out at the skyline. This was still her city. She wasn't running away, wasn't hiding. She was staying, rebuilding, reclaiming her life. Harrison had tried to destroy her. Instead, he destroyed himself. And Naomi was just getting started. Spring came to Chicago like a promise. Naomi stood on the balcony of the penthouse. Her penthouse now watching the lake shimmer in the April sunshine. 3 months had passed since the divorce was finalized. 3 months of learning who she was without Harrison's voice in her head. "You sure about this?" Patricia asked, joining her on the balcony. They were preparing for the grand opening of Naomi's foundation, and her mother had been helping with the planning. "I'm sure," Naomi said. "The New Beginnings Foundation will provide legal aid, housing, and job training for domestic violence survivors. Everything I wish I'd had access to when I was still with Harrison. You're doing something good with that money, Patricia said approvingly, using his money to help the kind of women he victimized. That's poetry right there. Naomi smiled. The settlement had come through just as Jerome predicted, $2.3 billion. The number still didn't feel real. She donated $1 billion to charity, cancer research, education programs, homeless shelters. She'd invested another $1 billion in a diversified portfolio that would generate income for life. The remaining $300 million she'd set aside for her foundation and personal expenses. I'm proud of you, baby girl, Patricia said, hugging her. You turned something terrible into something beautiful. The therapy was helping, too. Naomi met with Dr. Wright twice a week, working through the trauma, the anger, the complicated feelings about losing 7 years of her life. You didn't lose those years. Dr. Wright had told her, you survived them. That takes strength. And now you're using what you learned to help others. That's not loss. That's transformation. Naomi had also reconnected with old friends, people she let drift away during her marriage, her college roommate, her sorority sisters, her study group from Northwestern. They welcomed her back with open arms, never once saying, I told you so. Even though some of them had warned her about Harrison. We're just glad you're okay, her friend Simone said over lunch. That's all that matters. The business world had opened up to her, too. Companies wanted her on their boards. Impressed by her intelligence and her now famous resilience, she accepted 3 board positions, a tech startup, a women's fashion company, and a nonprofit focused on education. You're building an empire, Jerome observed one day when they met to review some foundation paperwork. Your own empire this time. It feels good, Naomi admitted. Making my own decisions, not asking permission, not worrying if someone's going to get angry at me for having opinions. Jerome smiled. You've changed. I mean, you're still you, but there's a confidence now that wasn't there before. I'm not afraid anymore, Naomi said. That's the difference. I spent 7 years afraid. Afraid Harrison would get angry. Afraid he'd leave me. Afraid I couldn't survive without him. Now I know the truth. I'm better off without him. I always was. She'd also started traveling. Small trips at first. A weekend in New York. A few days in Miami. Then bigger adventures. She went to Paris alone. Something Harrison had always refused to do. She walked the streets, visited museums, ate at sidewalk cafes, and felt alive in a way she hadn't in years. I forgot how much I loved this, she told her mother over video chat from her hotel room. Just experiencing things, being curious about the world. That's because Harrison wanted you in a cage, Patricia said bluntly. Pretty bird for him to show off, but not free to fly anywhere on your own. It was true. Harrison had controlled everything. Where they went, who they saw, what she wore. Now Naomi wore what she wanted, went where she wanted, talked to who she wanted. Freedom felt like breathing for the first time. Jerome had been a constant presence through it all. He never pushed, never demanded more than she could give, just showed up consistently and reliably as a friend. But Naomi noticed things. The way his eyes lit up when she walked into a room. The way he remembered tiny details about things she liked. The way he was always there when she needed him. You know he's in love with you, right? Simone said one day when they were having drinks. Don't be ridiculous. Naomi said we're just friends. Girl, please. Simone said that man has been in love with you since high school. Everyone knew it except you. And now that you're free, he's probably trying to figure out when it's appropriate to tell you. I'm not ready for a relationship, Naomi said firmly. I just got out of a nightmare marriage. The last thing I need is to jump into something else. I'm not saying you have to do anything. Simone said, I'm just saying pay attention, because when you are ready, he's going to be there waiting. Naomi thought about that conversation later. She and Jerome had been spending a lot of time together, and not all of it was about the foundation or legal matters. They went to movies, tried new restaurants, took walks along the lakefront. It felt easy and natural, the way things with Harrison had never felt. But she wasn't ready. She'd spent 7 years molding herself into what a man wanted. She needed time to be just herself, answerable to no one before she even thought about romance. One evening after a foundation meeting, Jerome walked her back to the penthouse. "You've done amazing work with this," he said, gesturing to the folder of foundation documents. "The New Beginnings Foundation is going to help so many people." "That's the goal," Naomi said. "Nobody should have to go through what I went through alone. Nobody should feel trapped because they don't have resources or support." They reached her building, and Jerome stopped. "Naomi, there's something I need to tell you." Her heart raced. "Okay, I've had feelings for you for a long time," Jerome said carefully. "Since we were kids, really, I never said anything because you were with Harrison, and then you needed a lawyer, and I didn't want to complicate things. But now that the divorce is final, I wanted you to know how I feel." Naomi looked at this man who'd saved her, who believed in her, who never once made her feel small. "Jerome," she said gently, "I care about you so much. You've been my rock through all of this, but I'm not ready for a relationship. I need time to figure out who I am outside of being someone's wife. Do you understand?" "I understand," Jerome said, and he looked relieved rather than hurt. "I'm not asking you to be ready now. I'm just telling you that whenever you are ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here. No pressure, no expectations, just possibility." "Thank you," Naomi said, "for being patient, for being you. Take all the time you need," Jerome said. "I'm not going anywhere." That night, Naomi lay in bed thinking about Jerome's confession. Part of her wanted to say yes, to leap into his arms and start a beautiful romance. But the smarter part, the healed part, knew she needed more time. She'd spent too long defining herself through men. First her father, then Harrison, and she wasn't going to immediately replace one man with another, even a good one like Jerome. She needed to be comfortable being alone first, needed to build a life she loved independently. Then maybe she'd have room for someone else. But not yet. The next morning, Naomi received an email from an unexpected source. The subject line read, "An apology." It was from Lauren Chin, the woman Harrison had dated before her, the one who filed a police report. "Dear Naomi," the email began, "I followed your case closely. I want you to know how brave I think you are for standing up to Harrison. I wasn't strong enough to fight him. When his family offered me money to go away, I took it. I convinced myself it was a smart thing to do, but I've regretted it ever since. You did what I couldn't. You made him face consequences. Thank you." Naomi read the email 3 times. Then she wrote back, "Lauren, thank you for reaching out. You were strong enough. You filed a report which took courage. We all do what we can with the resources we have at the time. I hope you're healing too. If you ever need support, my foundation will be here for women like us." Naomi. They exchanged a few more emails, and Naomi felt something shift. She wasn't just a victim of Harrison's abuse. She was part of a larger story. A story of women fighting back, supporting each other, refusing to be silenced. It gave her purpose beyond the money, beyond the revenge. She was going to make sure Harrison could never hurt anyone again. Not because she was still angry, but because it was a right thing to do. 3 months later, the New Beginnings Foundation officially opened. Naomi gave a speech at the gala wearing a stunning red dress, her hair natural and beautiful, her head held high. "I started this foundation because I know what it's like to feel trapped," she told the crowd. "I know what it's like to lose yourself in someone else's expectations. To believe the lies that you're not strong enough, smart enough, valuable enough to make it on your own. I'm here to tell you that those are lies. You are strong, you are valuable, and you deserve a life free from fear." The crowd stood and applauded. Patricia cried proud tears. Jerome watched from the side of the room, smiling. After the speech, as Naomi mingled with donors and survivors, she saw someone unexpected in the crowd. Harrison standing outside behind the police barricade that had been set up for crowd control. He looked terrible, thin, unshaven, desperate. Security noticed him and started moving toward him. But Naomi held up her hand. She walked to the glass doors and looked out at him. He saw her and pressed his hand against the glass, his eyes pleading. Naomi felt nothing. No anger, no fear, no love. Nothing. She turned away without a word and walked back into her gala, into her new life, into her future. Harrison's sterling was her past. He had no power over her anymore. She was finally completely free. 6 months later, Naomi's life had transformed into something she barely recognized in the best way possible. The New Beginnings Foundation had helped over 300 families, women and children fleeing abuse, finding safety and support, rebuilding their lives. Every success story felt personal to Naomi. Every woman who left an abusive partner and thrived afterward felt like a victory against Harrison's memory. "You should be proud," Jerome said one afternoon as they reviewed the foundation's quarterly report. 300 families in 6 months. That's incredible. It's not enough. Naomi said, "There are so many more who need help. I want to expand to other cities. Milwaukee, Detroit, Indianapolis, eventually go national." "That's ambitious," Jerome said with a smile. "But if anyone can do it, it's you." They were sitting in a coffee shop, a local place Naomi had discovered during one of her walks. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive, just good coffee and comfortable chairs. She'd learned to appreciate simple pleasures again. "How are you doing?" Jerome asked. "Really doing?" "I'm happy," Naomi said, and she meant it. Genuinely happy. "I wake up excited about the day. I make decisions without second-guessing myself. I have friends, work, I care about, a purpose." "I didn't have any of that with Harrison." "You did have one thing," Jerome said. "What's that?" "Security, financial stability. You gave that up when you left." "I traded a prison for freedom," Naomi corrected. "The money and security weren't worth the cost of my soul. Besides, I have my own money now. Money I earned by being brave enough to fight back." Jerome's expression grew serious. "I need to tell you something about Harrison." Naomi tensed. She tried not to think about Harrison these days, but he still appeared in her nightmares sometimes. "What about him?" "His company filed for bankruptcy last week." Jerome said the board forced him out completely. "His personal fortune is almost gone. Legal fees, a settlement to you, bad business decisions. He's not a billionaire anymore, Naomi. He's barely a millionaire." Naomi processed this information. She waited for satisfaction, for joy at his downfall. Instead, she just felt tired. "Good," she said finally. "Maybe losing everything will make him understand what he put me through. He's been trying to contact you again," Jerome said carefully through various channels. "My office keeps blocking him, but he's persistent. What does he want?" "He claims he wants to apologize, to make amends. He says he's in therapy working on himself, and he needs your forgiveness to move forward." Naomi laughed a bitter sound. "He needs my forgiveness. That's rich. He spent 7 years destroying me, and now he needs something from me." "Oh, the answer is no." "I figured," Jerome said, "but I had to tell you." "I don't forgive him," Naomi said firmly. "I don't wish him well. I don't care if he's sorry. He made his choices, and now he's living with the consequences. That's not my problem anymore." "Fair enough," Jerome said. "I'll make sure my office reinforces the no-contact policy." They moved on to other topics, but Naomi couldn't stop thinking about Harrison's downfall. The man who'd had everything, money, power, success, had lost it all because he couldn't control his temper and his ego. There was a lesson in that, she thought, about how abuse never pays off in the end, about how treating people like property eventually catches up with you. That evening, Naomi attended a board meeting for Tech Forward, a startup where she served as an advisor. The company was developing software to help small businesses manage their finances, and Naomi had invested some of her own money in it. "Your insights have been invaluable," the CEO told her after the meeting. "You see angles we don't. We'd love to have you take on a larger role. Maybe I'll think about it," Naomi said. "Let me see how the foundation expansion goes first. I don't want to overextend myself." "Take your time," the CEO said. "The offer stands whenever you're ready." Walking back to her car, Naomi felt a sense of pride. People respected her opinion, valued her skills, wanted her on their teams. Not because of who she was married to, but because of who she was. That night, she had dinner with her mother and some family friends. They laughed, told stories, argued playfully about politics, normal things, human things. The kind of simple pleasures Harrison had always looked down on. "You look so much happier now," her aunt observed. You were always so serious before, so tense, like you were holding your breath all the time. Naomi admitted. I didn't realize it until I left, but I've been holding my breath for 7 years, waiting for Harrison to explode, to get angry, to punish me for some imagined failure. Now I can finally breathe. Good, her mother said fiercely. That man stole too much from you already. I'm glad you took everything from him in return. Naomi thought about that later. Had she taken everything from Harrison? His money, his reputation, his power. She supposed she had in a way, but she didn't feel guilty about it. He tried to take everything from her first. Her identity, her confidence, her freedom. She just defended herself. The difference was she'd used the legal system. She fought fair with evidence and lawyers and courts. He'd used violence and control and manipulation. They weren't the same. A few days later, Jerome called with interesting news. Remember Vanessa Reed? Unfortunately, Naomi said she's working at a retail store in the suburbs. Jerome said living with her parents completely broke and blacklisted in the business world. Someone sent me photos. Why are you telling me this? Naomi asked. I don't know, Jerome admitted. I guess I thought you want to know that she's suffering, too. That there was justice for her part in everything. I don't care about Vanessa, Naomi said honestly. She's not worth my energy. She made her choices. Let her live with them. You've really let go of the anger, haven't you? Jerome said with admiration. I had to, Naomi said. Anger was eating me alive. I was so furious at Harrison, at Vanessa, at everyone who'd wronged me. But then I realized that anger was just another prison, another way to control me. So I let it go. Not for them, but for me. That takes wisdom. Jerome said, most people hold on to anger forever. Most people haven't had as good a therapist as Dr. Wright. Naomi joked. They talked for a while longer, and Naomi realized something. Her conversations with Jerome had changed over the past few months. They were less about legal matters and more about life, about books they'd read, movies they'd seen, dreams they had for the future. She was starting to see him not just as her lawyer and childhood friend, but as a man, a good man, a man who'd been patient and kind and supportive without expecting anything in return. Maybe Simone had been right. Maybe Jerome was in love with her. And maybe, just maybe, she was starting to have feelings for him, too. But she still wasn't ready. She promised herself a full year of being single, of learning to be comfortable alone. She had 6 more months on that promise, and she intended to keep it. Still, it was nice to know that when she was ready, Jerome would be there, waiting, patient, steady. For the first time in 7 years, the future looked bright. 1 year after the divorce was finalized, Naomi stood in the grand ballroom of the Chicago Hilton, surrounded by 500 guests at the New Beginnings Foundation's first annual gala. The event had exceeded every expectation. They'd raised $10 million in one night, enough to expand to 5 new cities. You look beautiful, Jerome said, appearing at her elbow with a glass of champagne. Naomi smiled at him. She was wearing a gold gown that made her dark skin glow, her natural hair styled in an elegant updo. She felt beautiful, confident, powerful. Everything Harrison had tried to take from her. Thank you, she said, accepting the glass. For everything, not just tonight, but this entire year. You've been my rock, Jerome. It's been my privilege, Jerome said, his eyes warm. The year had been transformative for Naomi. The foundation had helped over 500 families now. She joined the boards of 3 major companies and had become a sought-after speaker on entrepreneurship and resilience. Her investment portfolio had grown, making her even wealthier than the divorce settlement had left her. But more importantly, she'd healed. The nightmares had stopped. The fear had faded. She'd learned to trust herself again, to believe in her own judgment, to know her worth. And her feeling for Jerome had grown into something undeniable. There's something I need to tell you, she said, taking his hand and leading him to a quiet corner of the ballroom. Okay, Jerome said, looking curious. A year ago, you told me you had feelings for me, Naomi said. And I asked you to wait to give me time to figure out who I was outside of being someone's wife. I remember, Jerome said, and I meant what I said. I'd wait as long as you needed. I don't need you to wait anymore, Naomi said, her heart pounding. I've spent this year becoming myself again, building a life I love, learning to be happy alone, and I am happy alone. But I think I could be even happier with you. Jerome's face lit up. Are you saying? I'm saying I'd like to try, Naomi said. If you're still interested, no pressure, no rush. Just see where things go. I'm very interested, Jerome said, grinning. I've been interested since we were 15 years old. And you helped me with that English paper on Shakespeare. That was a good paper. Naomi laughed. It got a B+ because you basically wrote half of it, Jerome said. But I've loved you since then, Naomi. Not just because you were kind to me, but because you were brilliant and funny and real. You still are all those things. You always will be. Can we take it slow? Naomi asked. I'm not ready to jump into anything serious. I need to make sure I'm choosing you for the right reasons, not because I'm afraid to be alone or because I'm trying to prove something. We'll go as slow as you want, Jerome promised. I've waited this long. I can wait longer. Thank you, Naomi said and kissed him softly. Felt right, natural, like coming home after a long journey. The rest of the gala was a blur of speeches and dancing and celebrating. Naomi gave her keynote address about survival and resilience and received a standing ovation. You're an inspiration. A young woman told her afterward, I left my abusive boyfriend because of your story. Because you showed me it was possible to fight back and win. You're the inspiration. Naomi told her, you're the one who left. That takes real courage. As the night wounded down, Naomi stepped outside for some air. The Chicago skyline glittered before her, full of possibility. Someone cleared their throat behind her. She turned and froze. Harrison stood there looking nothing like the powerful billionaire she'd married. He was thinner, older, worn down by his losses. Security hadn't spotted him yet, but they would soon. Naomi, he said, his voice pleading. Please, just give me 2 minutes. You have 30 seconds before I call security. Naomi said coldly, make it count. I'm sorry, Harrison said in a rush. For everything, for abusing you, controlling you, cheating on you. I was terrible, the worst kind of man. I've lost everything because of it. And I deserve to lose everything. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. I'm in therapy. I'm trying to be better. And I hoped maybe you could forgive me. Not for my sake, but for yours, so you can truly move on. Naomi looked at this broken man, this shell of the person who'd once controlled every aspect of her life, and felt nothing but pity. I have moved on, she said quietly. I moved on the moment. I screamed live streaming and took my power back. Everything after that has just been clean up. You don't get my forgiveness, Harrison. You don't get closure or peace or anything else from me. I'm not responsible for your healing. Only you are. But I see security coming, Naomi said. Cut him off. You need to leave. If you violate the restraining order again, you'll go to jail. Is that what you want? No, Harrison said desperately. I wanted you to know I'm sorry. I heard you, Naomi said. Now leave. Security guards appeared, recognizing Harrison and moving quickly to escort him away. He didn't resist, just looked back at Naomi one last time with desperate, pleading eyes. She turned away before they removed him. He didn't deserve even that much of her attention. Jerome found her a moment later. Was that Harrison? Yes, Naomi said. He wanted forgiveness. Did you give it to him? No, Naomi said simply. He doesn't deserve it. And I don't need to forgive him to be happy. I already am happy. Jerome pulled her close. You're incredible. You know that I'm learning, Naomi said with a smile. They went back inside to the party, to the celebration of everything Naomi had built from the ashes of her marriage, the foundation that was helping hundreds of families, the company she advised, the life she created on her own terms. Later that night, as she and Jerome sat together watching the last guest leave, Naomi reflected on how far she'd come. From the woman being dragged across the floor by her hair to the woman who'd rebuilt her life bigger and better than before. What are you thinking about? Jerome asked. How different everything is now. Naomi said, a year ago, I thought my life was over. I thought losing Harrison meant losing everything. But the truth is, losing him gave me everything. My freedom, my identity, my purpose. I'm more myself now than I ever was with him. He really did lose the best thing that ever happened to him. Jerome said, maybe. Naomi said, but I didn't lose anything. I gained everything that matters. Friends, family, work. I care about the ability to make my own choices. And maybe if we're lucky, something real with you. I like that, Jerome said softly. Something real. No games, no control, no drama. Just two people choosing each other every day. That sounds perfect, Naomi said. 6 months later, Jerome asked her to marry him. They were walking along the lakefront, talking about expanding the foundation to the West Coast, when he stopped and pulled out a ring. I'm not asking you to be my wife yet, he said carefully. I'm asking if you'll consider it someday. When you're ready. If you're ever ready, no pressure, no timeline, just a promise that I'm serious about you, about us. Naomi looked at the ring, a simple diamond, elegant, but not ostentatious, and then at Jerome's hopeful face. Ask me in 6 months, she said. I think I'll be ready then. Really? Jerome's face lit up. Really? Naomi confirmed. But if you ask and I say yes, we're doing it my way. Small wedding, just family and close friends. No society pages, no drama, no pretense. Just us choosing each other. That sounds perfect, Jerome said, pulling her into a kiss. They walked back toward the city hand in hand, talking about the future, about the foundation, about their relationship, about the life they might build together. Naomi felt lighter than she had in years, free from the weight of Harrison's abuse, free from the anger and fear that had consumed her for so long. She'd started her marriage to Harrison as a hopeful graduate student who believed in fairy tales. She'd ended it as a survivor who knew the difference between love and control. Now she was beginning something new, a relationship built on mutual respect, honest communication, and genuine care. The kind of partnership she'd always deserved but never had. As they reached her building, Naomi looked up at the penthouse that used to be a prison and was now a sanctuary. She reclaimed every room, redecorated every space, made it truly hers. Thank you, she told Jerome, for being patient, for being you. Thank you, Jerome said, for giving me a chance, for trusting me, for letting me be part of your journey. It's our journey now, Naomi said with a smile. If you want it to be. I do, Jerome said more than anything. They went upstairs together, and Naomi knew with certainty that this time she'd made the right choice. Not because Jerome was perfect, but because he respected her. He saw her as an equal. He celebrated her strength instead of trying to diminish it. That was love, real love, and Naomi had finally found it. Months later, Harrison's bankruptcy was finalized. His company was sold off in pieces. His reputation was permanently destroyed. He'd moved to a small apartment in a less expensive part of the city, working a regular job like regular people. Naomi heard about it through friends and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, no joy. Harrison Sterling was simply irrelevant to her life now. Meanwhile, the New Beginnings Foundation had expanded to 10 cities. Naomi had become one of Chicago's most respected philanthropists. She'd written a book about her experience that became a bestseller. She used her platform to advocate for stronger domestic violence laws, better protection for victims, and accountability for abusers. And when Jerome asked her to marry him 6 months after their first engagement, she said yes without hesitation. Their wedding was everything Harrison's hadn't been. Small, intimate, filled with genuine love and joy. Patricia cried happy tears. Jerome's mother welcomed Naomi into the family with open arms. Their friends celebrated two people who truly belonged together. Standing at the altar, looking into Jerome's eyes, Naomi thought about how far she'd come. From victim to survivor to Thor, from trapped to free to joyful. Harrison had tried to destroy her. Instead, he'd freed her to become the woman she was always meant to be. And that was the sweetest victory of all. I do, Naomi said, her voice clear and strong. I do, Jerome echoed. And they kissed, sealing a promise built on respect, equality, and genuine love. Naomi Brooks Washington walked out of that church a married woman again. But this time she was marrying as her complete, whole, powerful self. Not despite what Harrison had done to her, but because of what she'd done for herself. She fought back, she'd won, and she'd built a life so beautiful that her past couldn't touch it. That was real victory. That was real freedom. That was everything.